And we're always growing experience as DPs. That's why it's so cool. That's why we started this channel, was to teach you guys, look, you can grow. You can grow without film school. You can figure this stuff out. It's super cool.
Obsessive DP.
Welcome to the Obsessive DP. My name is Ryan. This is the show where we break down high-end, industry-grade, high production value setups, tips, lighting diagrams, anything you could think of regarding high-end director of photography or cinematography work. This is where you're gonna find it. This episode, we're gonna break down 3 different car setups that we've done over at Naknek. They're lit totally different ways. ND in one, we have just straight up lights in one, and then we have a simple use of a car window in another to achieve just beautiful lighting that matches the outside. That's the most difficult thing when you're working with car interiors, is you want the interior of a car, obviously the people's faces, to match the exterior, which is super bright sunlight. To the DPs out there and the cinematographers out there, you know how hard it is to match sunlight. People like Shane Hurlbut, big DPs in the industry, tell you that the only way to match sunlight is with 18Ks. Massive HMI lights by Ari. Diving into car exteriors, we're talking about day car exteriors, we're not talking about night, just day. The example here, see how the light is just super bright in the front? There's just a super powered bright light. There's a huge light blasting in. It's a studio setup. There's a green screen for this setup. That's, I would say like 90% of all TV shows, movies, commercials, they're actually not shot while the car is driving on a road, because that's super difficult to get all those factors down, and I'll show you later as we dive in. You can see he's lit pretty hard. See, the white light is just glistening off his skin. Just, that's how they lit it. And this is actually a Hostess tray. The camera is actually outside of the car, which is super scary as a DP. You gotta trust your gripping department there. It's just a beautiful way to get a 2-shot. You get the driver and the passenger in the same shot when you use a Hostess tray. Lighting from the front here is very classic. You can see in their eyes, it's just really, really lit. And that's just kind of a classic look. Obviously it's Tarantino, classic cinema, which is great. It's beautiful. It's just a little more hard light than the more modern looking movies today. Anyway, let's dive right into our examples over at Naknek. The first setup is from this scene here. I'll show you. So here's the Range Rover.
Trading has created a learning process worth every ounce.
These are the shots we used. All that, and the exterior is real. We did not use a green screen, but he's matching pretty well. He actually looks a little too lit, honestly, if you compare him to the background, because as a DP, you want a little bit of that realistic feel. So you want a little bit, maybe one stop overexposed versus his skin in the exterior of the car, so looking through a window. On this example, we wrote the script around just a lavish lifestyle. This guy's living in the Hollywood Hills. He has an amazing view over LA. He drives a Range Rover. He trades online. He's doing well. So the producers said, get a good car. And I said, as a DP, get one with a sunroof. And you can see here from this footage that sun is coming through the moonroof, hitting him and lighting him super well. So we're coming out of the garage here. You can see how his face on the left side is super down. Now, as the light, see that? That's when the light starts coming through that sunroof, moonroof, and lighting him so that he actually matches the background like so well. He's almost too lit. Look at his shirt. His jacket there is more lit than the background. We didn't even light this interior. It's super hard to light day interiors with a car when you're actually driving it. That's why everyone does it in a studio. Or they do some crazy speed rail setup with the camera and then the lights and then the camera and the lights. See the sunroof there? He's just lit really nice. I wouldn't call it cinematic. It's pretty even. As DPs, we want cinematic side lighting, back lighting, 3/4 back lighting. I like that. You see how it's just lit here and here? That looks nice. It's a little down compared to the exterior, but it just looks interesting. The problem with this is that it is just a top light. You don't usually want a top light when you're looking for like a beauty shot, because you get skull eyes. No one likes skull eyes. Skull eyes is it's bad. If you've done skull eyes as a DP, you gotta turn in your DP card. Doesn't look good. You look like a skeleton, unless you meant to do it for like a specific creative purpose. So this is the indie way to do this. We didn't do this right. We didn't have a specific shot list. I think we just placed the camera in here. I sat in the passenger seat. We had an apple box and a sandbag, and I just put it on top and tried to get everything I could, and I was too close to it. In cinematic video, you don't want to use like a 14 millimeter. What were we using here? We were using a 14 millimeter. You don't want to to use that. You want to use at least 24, 35, 40, somewhere in the 40 range. It feels like we're selling a car and we're distorting his face. It's not a super cinematic focal length, but I think this looks good. As a challenge to you, and what we learned on this is we need a shot list with specific shots. In the final edit, we only use 3 shots, maybe 4 shots. That's all you have to film. Remember that when you're setting up. It took us about 45 minutes to do this. We probably got 20 minutes of footage. We used 5 seconds of footage. If we had set up those 4 shots, lit them, used scrims, used grip equipment, we could have nailed this, gotten a way more cinematic image. Not that this is bad. I thought that this was good. All right, now let's move on to the second example. This is actually in the same spot. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. This is a single mom trying to learn this day trading and to make her life better. This is the car we're dealing with. So now we're interior. Boom, boom, boom. See if you guys can tell why this shot looks different than this shot. Can you figure it out? It's because we used ND. We used a roll of ND. When the window's down, you can't use ND anymore. So we actually use a neutral density filter roll over these windows, here and here. See how she's matching the background pretty well? Again, we didn't light this. We just used ND. So let's go a little bit behind the scenes here. All right, see how lit it is outside? Now I'm gonna close the door. Boom, totally different. That was not real tint. You could be like, Ryan, that's just tint. No, we didn't tint this car. That's actually probably an illegal level of tint. Boom, that's way more lit. Look at the fence. Boom. It's probably a 3-stop difference, at least a 2-stop difference. I can't remember if it was an ND9 or ND6, but you can see the wrinkles right here. You see those wrinkles? The approach we took on this one is we told the grip team, just cover the windows in ND. Why is it out of focus? I think it is in focus. The problem with ND is because we're not lighting inside on top of it. We should have lit inside on top of it, but since we didn't, we actually lost the light as well. ND not only tints the window, it prevents light from coming in as well. So it's kind of a double whammy where, yeah, we can see a little better outside, but we didn't tint the passenger window, so light was able to come through there, which was super nice. Here's the back seat. You can see the spots in the ND. They actually couldn't fit it through here. You can see tape right here. You can see some tape, but the grip team did what they could. We only had 4-foot width of ND, so it actually couldn't fit over the windshield perfectly. But I mean, it worked. You could see outside, you could see her well still. I think it was worth it to make it look just like way better than an indie filmmaker or someone with an A7S or something like that. Here you can see the tape on the bottom. So we put ND all on the outside, right, with tape. But we couldn't put ND here because the window was down. So she's definitely darker, but she's lit by the sun. It would have been nice just to have an extra light here, hitting her face, wrapping her a little more, a little fill on this side to make it just perfect. But we did what we could with the budget we had and the experience we had at the time, and we're always growing experience as DPs. That's why it's so cool. That's why we started this channel, was to teach you guys you can grow without film school. You can figure this stuff out. It's super cool. Our final example is a lit example. I love this spot. I loved how it came out. You guys can go check it out afterwards. I can link it in the description. So here's our final shot right here.
Daddy, we got another one.
Put burglars out of business and protect your home with a peephole cam by Ring.
So obviously that was way more produced. The secret here was we only had to deal with 1 shot. We were not dealing with let's get 6 shots, let's just jump in the passenger seat and drive around because we don't really have a plan. No, we had a plan. Actually 2 shots. So this was our setup, right? The camera was just sitting in the middle console on a sandbag. It was basically locked down. It didn't pan, it didn't move, nothing. Over here, so this was the opposite window that our talent was sitting in. The opposite window was totally blacked out. We black wrapped it completely. We black wrapped any spill from the windshield as much as we could. So you see how it's so down here? This is down. Look at the outside. It's beautiful. As DPs, you don't want a white sky unless there's clouds and then it's white. You don't want a white sky. That means you blew it out. That means you did not use the dynamic range of your camera correctly and expose correctly so that you can actually see what the sky looks like. Have you ever seen just a white sky? You can turn in your DP card if you blew out the sky. So look at her face. It's amazing. But look at her eye. You see this little line? So we actually put a daylight panel. We hit it right here. We used a DP Lumi. It's right there. It's actually flexible. You can make a circle out of the flex of it. So we hid it right here next to the window. Obviously we're looking out the window, so we don't want it to cover the window, but we wanted to complete a wrap. because obviously we have some just normal fill from the sun. It's kind of coming in here and filling her face already, but we accentuated it with this beautiful light right here next to the window. And then she has this beautiful downside here because we blocked all the windows on the opposite side of the car. All these windows are just black. So she doesn't have just like I'm lit here and I'm lit here. The sun's only on one side. So we want it to look like that. And we want to give her a key side, a fill side, and we gave her a little accent. What I wanted to do with this accent is like have something running by it. In the good driving shots, when you film them in a studio, you have some sort of movement. So it feels like you're going by trees or a car is passing you. It would have been cool if we didn't do it because we literally would have had to have someone sitting in the trunk and like moving it. So we added like one of these lights that's lighting me right now actually. Boom. That light is just behind her on a battery, accenting her hair beautifully, and it's looks great. Anyway, I really love how this looks. I think that, you know, the only way we could have done this better is if we actually didn't drive. This production was thrown together like on a whim. If we were totally prepared, we could have got green screen out here, and then we could have had someone with a 2x4 under the wheel well, just like moving it so that's shaking and it looks natural. What you run into when you don't do that and you're actually driving is you get crazy light. I know there's a few shots here where there's just crazy light coming through. So there's some spots where it's just like hard light coming in and hitting her, and then you're dealing with performance and then background. The background's always changing, but that means we had to keep driving back and forth around that spot, and we had to wait, turn around, get back to the beginning, start again, and have the performance happen again. And it actually takes longer because you're dealing with performance and background, where we could have only dealt with performance if we did the whole green screen route and the 2x4 shaky route. But it worked. I mean, I think it looks good. It's definitely the best car interior Nac Nac has done, day car interior, and so I'm super proud of it. I hope you guys learned something. Write a comment in below and ask me anything about cinematography. We'll try to get back to you with an answer. We're gonna keep coming back to you with these videos, so go check out some other videos if they're popping up here. This is our first video, so we don't have any others. Go check those out. Stay obsessed.